Hello, and welcome to your first technical SEO bootcamp. I am Stephanie Miller, Senior SEO and Content Marketing Project Manager here at Oneupweb, and I'll be leading your first session today. Much like a physical bootcamp, this course is going to help you practice your skills and become stronger at what you do. So whether you are a strong one-person team or you're a marketing manager of a larger team with a dedicated SEO department, you will be learning some technical SEO techniques and just finding more visibility through search engines. So this first session is fairly simple. I will dig into some essential tools for your SEO toolbox. You have likely heard of many of these, and many of them are free. So if you haven't heard of some of them or you're interested in getting some, that should be fairly easy for you to accomplish and get set up for the remainder of this bootcamp. So let's start by looking into Google Search Console. All right, so Google Search Console is a free query and indexing performance tool. It allows you to monitor and preserve your performance in Google Search. You can verify your site with Google Search Console using your main Google Analytics account, or you can choose to verify with another method, such as adding an HTML tag. So when you go to Google Search Console for the first time and you try to verify your site, the platform will explain all of those options and make it fairly easy for you to set up. And after you're all ready to go, you have many options for analyzing and improving your site's performance there. We will just quickly walk through some of the main actions that you can accomplish. The first is submitting your XML sitemap and your URLs for indexing. So your XML sitemap is one of the simplest one-stop shops for a search engine to look to find all of the SEO relevant pages, most important pages on your website. You can submit your XML sitemap directly to Google Search Console to make sure that the search engine has your most recent version, which is very handy, especially if you have recently updated a lot of pages and you want to ensure that those changes are quickly recognized and indexed so they can be served in search results. You can also just submit individual URLs if you would like. You can, for example, if you've updated 2 or 3 service pages that are very important, you will want to submit those individually to Google Search Console for indexing. That tool was actually recently broken and now it's back, which is awesome for SEOs and marketing professionals like us. So and the next thing that you can do is look at search query performance. One of the most useful ways of looking at this is filtering by branded or non-branded keywords. So when you're looking at branded keywords, you can get a lot of clues about who is aware of your brand and how is that brand awareness growing. And when you look at non-branded keywords, you can find out how your SEO strategy is operating and how it's drawing brand new people to your website who may not be aware of your brand yet, but they're getting their very first impressions. You can also find problems with core web vitals in Google Search Console, and this is a very new report within the platform, new as of 2020-2021. And core web vitals are speed and visual stability metrics that are very important for ranking in today's SERP. And we'll be talking a lot more about core web vitals coming up in the rest of our bootcamp. You can also look at mobile usability and security reports within GSC. And really all 3 of these reports are essential for making sure that your site is healthy and that search engines are going to see it as authoritative and worth serving in search results. Next, you can analyze indexing coverage. So this is just showing you how many of your pages are being indexed by Google, how many of them are being overlooked, how many of them are being inconsistently indexed. And then you can look at those groups of pages and identify errors that may be causing the problems that you see. Finally, you can look at crawl statistics. These are kind of hidden in the settings tab, so it's not very intuitive to find them. Please do check it out, and you'll see some deeper insights about how search engines are accessing your pages. So we will not be logging in to Google Search Console today to give you a tour. However, we do recommend checking out every tool available in there. They're all extremely useful. While there are no exact alternatives to GSC, there are some tools that have similar features, and a few of those are SEMrush, MozPro, and Ahrefs. All right, moving on to the next tool. Google Analytics, of course. In our marketing agency's history, we have not very often run into a company that does not use Google Analytics. Although, of course, there are exceptions and there are alternatives. It's just a very, very useful analytics platform. It's free also, unless you use Google Analytics 360, which has extra enterprise features. But today we're going to focus on the free version of Universal Analytics and GA4. So the standard Google Analytics that you have probably learned if you've been introduced to this platform is called Universal Analytics. And there is also recently, we've seen the rollout of Google Analytics 4 or GA4. This is eventually meant to replace Universal Analytics, but it's still a work in progress and we're not really sure of the dates and the details. But we do definitely recommend, definitely set up a GA4 property to run alongside your Universal Analytics property and set up your custom events there so that you can collect data now to prepare for the future. So what exactly can you do with Google Analytics? Well, many of us do already use it to review website traffic, engagement, behavior flows, and basically any activity that's occurring on your website. You can also track events and goals based on URL destinations or other custom triggers that you can set up in a number of ways, including through Google Tag Manager. There are a lot of useful integrations with Google Analytics. I just mentioned Google Tag Manager as being one of them, but there's also integrations with e-commerce solutions, Google Ads, and reporting solutions, including Google Data Studio. Google Analytics is really just where you see how your SEO strategy is working, as well as your marketing strategies and all other channels. And it shows you how those channels compare and how they are communicating with each other, how they are affecting each other. If you don't have it set up already, we definitely do recommend creating your Universal Analytics and your GA4 properties so that you can really get the most out of the rest of this technical SEO bootcamp. All right, so there are a couple of alternatives that we've pointed out here for Google Analytics. Obviously, there are many analytics platforms out there that you should definitely look into. Some of them are focused on automating marketing insights, whereas the similar features in Google Analytics might be a little bit more manual. So really, it's whatever works best for your team. And if you're looking to just get the high level automated insights or dig deeper manually. All right, our next tool is actually 3 tools that are very closely connected and sort of sharing some of the same data here and there. It's Lighthouse, Crux, and PageSpeed Insights. So these are all for looking at website performance, also known as page speed and visual stability. So in addition to speed and stability, you can also look at a few other metrics such as your accessibility score and high-level SEO health rating. However, these tools are not really very in-depth when it comes to measuring those types of things. So we do recommend adding additional tools if you're looking into accessibility and SEO health. But when it comes to site speed, these tools are definitely awesome and very in-depth. And you definitely need some sort of a performance monitoring and a performance auditor tool in your toolbox, because speed is just so important for SEO performance today. Google recently rolled out the page experience algorithm update in mid-June 2021, and this added new speed metrics called Core Web Vitals to the long list of important ranking factors. And it's tools like these that allow you to measure your core web vitals, measure the metrics that are closely related to them, and optimize your site for speed and for stability. Our developers at Oneupweb use all three of these tools kind of in tandem to troubleshoot site speed and stability. We do look at lab data as well as field data, which is from real user sessions on pages, live pages. And the lab data can give us clues about what's going on with the field tested data. So it's all very connected, and the goal is to make your pages load very quickly and to make sure that the visual layout is not just shifting around, making the user experience very difficult to manage or annoying in a number of ways. Adding a performance auditor tool to your toolbox, definitely do it. There are alternatives. You can look at web.dev, which uses Lighthouse data and actually has a historical log, which is very interesting. And there are many other tools out there for similar insights. Moving on to SEMrush. And it's definitely called SEMrush, okay? It's not SEMrush. And if you're like me, you definitely have to retrain your brain to say it correctly. So I'll do my best. SEMrush is our SEO team's favorite SEO research and analytics tool. It is also considered a marketing platform. So if you would like to use it as your all-in-one marketing planning hub, go for it. They're definitely rolling out new features and integrations all the time to make it a bit more robust in that respect. At Oneupweb, we definitely use SEMrush mainly for SEO strategy, however, and for keyword rank monitoring. Our favorite features, some of which are laid out here, are the site audit, which really helps you dig into technical SEO and find errors to correct on your website. There's also the keyword gap, which allows for competitive keyword research. Highly, highly useful for making sure that your content marketing strategy is competitive at its heart, and it's not just sort of whatever you want to create content about. Next is the backlink audit and the backlink analytics report, and any other backlink tools in SEMrush will really help you get a handle on your backlink profile and how you're naturally building backlinks with your great content, and how your link outreach is going. You can actually track that manually if you would like, or integrate it with your email. Finally, we have position tracking, which is for tracking your daily rank for keywords that you enter or upload in a list. And you can track your rank for national rank, or you can track it for a specific geography. Whatever really aligns with your goals for the SEO strategy that you're measuring. Finally, we have keyword research. SEMrush is well known for their keyword research tools, which just get better all the time. The Keyword Magic tool is the main applauded tool in the SEO world that helps you just identify new topics for your website and really flesh out your whole keyword strategy site-wide. All right. So if you don't have an SEO tool yet, we do recommend demoing SEMrush, but there definitely are good alternatives such as Ahrefs, Moz Pro, Ubersuggest, all very respected tools. Perhaps you get a couple of demos and find out what works best. And this brings us to our last tool, Screaming Frog. This is an SEO spider tool. A spider essentially mimics a search engine crawler or a user agent, and it crawls your entire website or a file if you choose to upload a file to identify the URLs and to find information about their indexing status, about the relationships between those URLs, the inlinks, and any errors that are occurring, such as 404s, broken links, and mixed content, structural problems. Screaming Frog is really excellent for technical SEO audits for that reason. But you do need to pay for, you do need the paid version if you want to crawl more than 500 URLs. And for many businesses, you will need to crawl more than 500 at one time. But once you do, you can find all the errors that might be interfering with indexing and with just living your best SEO life. So at Oneupweb, we also use Screaming Frog for 301 redirect mapping for website projects. For example, you crawl the old site, you crawl the staged new site, and then you map your 301s from the old to the new. And there are just so many useful features of Screaming Frog, like XML sitemap auditing and everything that you need to do to make sure that your website structure is really solid and that everything is really working. There are definitely many SEO spider solutions out there. Screaming Frog is not your only option. There are a lot of alternatives with good reputations, like the ones that we listed on this slide, and you can just do some exploring. So this brings us to the end of our tour of SEO tools. If you have any of these tools or similar ones, you will definitely be putting them to good work during the rest of our course. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this session. If you have questions, you can just respond to any of our emails, and we will make sure that you get an answer right away. Up next, in our next bootcamp session, we will be discussing Core Web Vitals. See you then.